Hey guys, what's up? Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders here of the RCWR show, coming at you with some breaking news for April 28th, 2015. I literally just got off the air as well Monday night. Soon as Raw goes off the air, we come on live here on YouTube to talk about Raw Fallout with you all. And it's about 12:42 a.m. on the East Coast right now as we're going into Tuesday morning. And one of our listeners had mentioned to me about the passing of Verne Gagne. I wasn't really sure what they were talking about. I didn't have time to verify the information, so I pretty much had waited until our show was over to try to check, confirm. First thing I actually did was went to WWE's website at WWE.com, and they actually did confirm. I mean, they have a nice splash page as soon as you land on it that reads breaking news: Verne Gagne passes away. Verne Gagne, in case you guys don't know, I mean, legendary wrestler. He was a football player, just an all around great athlete that put his focus and energy and passion into wrestling. It basically culminated in him running his own wrestling promotion, the AWA. And I'm definitely heartbroken hearing this news right now because I actually grew up on the AWA brand, and a lot of the names that came through there would one day make their mark in the WWE, and they would leave a very good lasting impression in the WWE. I'll share with you some of those names in just a little bit, but here is the press release that WWE had did, and this pretty much had came in within the past hour. But surprisingly, I think we're like the only ones on YouTube. From what I saw last I checked, we're like the first ones to talk about this on here. But the way it's looking right now, this is the press release that WWE issued. It goes, WWE is saddened to learn that Verne Gagne, one of sports entertainment's most celebrated performers and promoters, has passed away at the age of 89. Growing up in Robbinsdale, Minnesota, Gagne was a three-sport athlete in high school. While he also played baseball and football, his true skill was in wrestling, where he won multiple state championships. He then went to the University of Minnesota, where he continued to play football and wrestle. He left after 1 year to join the Marines at the end of World War II, but returned to finish his college career a few years later. When his amateur wrestling career was over, Gagne had four Big Ten wrestling championships, two NCAA wrestling championships, the 1949 AAU wrestling championship, and a slot of the 1948 United States Olympic team on his resume. Gagne debuted as a pro in 1950 and won several regional championships throughout the 1950s before heading to the newly formed American Wrestling Association in 1960, otherwise known as the AWA. In August of 1960, he was awarded his first AWA World Heavyweight Championship when the first recognized champion, then NWA World Heavyweight Champion Pat O'Connor, failed to defend the championship against Gagne. In the 1960s and 70s, Verne became both a wrestler and a promoter, eventually becoming the sole owner of AWA. He remained an active competitor until the early 80s, holding the AWA World Heavyweight Championship 10 times between, get this, folks, 1960 to 1981. Although Gagne officially retired in 1981, he would later wrestle in several special matches while maintaining ownership of the AWA. During AWA's existence, it was the breeding ground for several future WWE superstars, including, and I am proud to say that I actually remember this man in the AWA before he came to the WWE under Vince McMahon Jr., the immortal Hulk Hogan, Jesse the Body Ventura, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Pat Patterson, the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, Shawn Michaels, and Marty Jannetty. Proud to say I remember their run in the AWA. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, who was like one of the last AWA champions to try to breathe life into the AWA as they were about to fold over, and like Kurt Hennig, he was like the last good saving grace, if you will, as well as Larry Zbyszko for the AWA promotion. See Scott Hall, Diamond Stud, that's how Big Stud, that's how I remember him as when he was over there. Mean Gene Okerlund, Sensational Sherry Martel, Jerry the King Lawler, Larry Zbyszko, Sergeant Slaughter. So many people they don't know this, but Sergeant Slaughter's big break wasn't it? It didn't come from the WWE. It actually came from the AWA. That's where it all has started. And of course, Verne's son Greg also had a lengthy and successful career there as well. In addition, Gagne had a hand in training several future superstars, including Ric Flair. Yes, he trained a very chunky monkey, if you will. And Ric Flair, I'm not taking any knocks at him. He will definitely tell. I think he has gone there on his DVDs when he talked about how he got his first big break in the wrestling as far as his training goes and all that. He definitely credited Verne Gagne, talked about how heavy he was when he hooked up with Verne in his training camp and all that. And this is like right before we got introduced to the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and all that. I mean, Flair, his hair was still, I think it was like a dark brown or whatever when he hooked up with Verne. Ken Patera, Bob Backlund, the Iron Sheik, Ricky, the Dragon Steamboat. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. He's trained like at least over 100 people, but that's just some of the names of the people that he's trained. 2006, he had went into the WWE Hall of Fame. We didn't think that was going to happen. We didn't think he would get his just due, but he did. That's actually something you can see on the WWE network. Last I poked around, I was able to see it on there. Whether or not it's still on there, not really sure. You'll have to check that out for yourself. But there was also a AWA DVD that had came out not too long ago that I would definitely encourage you all to check out. It's titled the Spectacular Legacy of the American Wrestling Association. I would highly encourage you to check it out. I mean, you can get it on eBay. It's like $8. Best Buy, probably for like anywhere from $5 to $10. From what I see here right now, I believe the documentary part may be on the WWE Network. I do recall seeing that for sure a couple of months back. I'm not sure if it's on there now. Um, but definitely I'm a bit sad that that he passed away because I mean, you just go off of the names of the people that he trained, all the wrestlers that came through to the WWE. I mean, this guy, honestly, if all those wrestlers that came through there, including, I believe he even trained Undertaker, if I'm not mistaken. All the people that had came through to him for training and going through his promotion in the AWA, if it wasn't for him providing that platform, all of those guys that I mentioned, and then some, even more, there's no telling where they would be right now. And that's the God's to honest truth. The AWA was just so freaking white hot. You would have just had to been living during that time to really appreciate the magnitude of how popular AWA was at the time, because you just did not know who the heck was going to be popping up over there in that promotion. And when Vince McMahon Jr. came around and he started to buy up all the territories and everything, that's why you saw a lot of promotions. what little promotions were left, they all had tried to come together and they were doing their super shows, their Clash of the Titans and all this other stuff. And they thought that maybe by combining their rosters and all that for these super shows that they would do good. And the first couple of events, the super shows, they did very well, but eventually egos got in the way, money, who should be champion, the whole politics and all that crap. And eventually, that's what made a lot of those companies uh, have their downfall. And, with regards to AWA, Verne tried to do any and everything he could to make sure that that company had stayed thriving and all that. And I remember, I think they covered it on the documentary piece. I even remember something about he tried to do everything he could to the point that I think he put his house up or his mortgage up as collateral or whatever. I mean, he tried to do everything he could to keep the AWA afloat. And let's not also forget Eric Bischoff. He was one of the interview guys and all that over there. Great story on how he ended up getting the job as one of the people that was the original commentator. He had a little bit of a drinking problem. As a matter of fact, that person would be AWA announcer Larry Nelson. I love Larry Nelson. He was just so freaking smooth. I loved his work tremendously in the AWA, but he had one too many drinks, and as the story goes, one day Eric Bischoff, he was just in the right place at the right time. He would end up being the new guy, the new interviewer guy, and all that, taking the place of Larry. And it was like, oh, I preferred Larry. Young Eric Bischoff, though, was, you can see the potential in him if you go back and you look at all that old school footage. But Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. There's no telling where the WWE would be right now today if it wasn't for those individuals that came before today's superstars that you're seeing. You got to look at all those names that came through in the late 70s into the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. You got to look at all those names that came through the AWA and then would eventually make their way to the WWF/E, then to WCW, ECW, and all that. And I would imagine that next week they'll probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they did in loving memory of for this week's remaining WWE programming shows. But um, if it was up to me, and I hope WWE does this, I think it would be really classy on their part. It would say a lot about them. But I know next week is supposed to be, I think, Pat Patterson Appreciation Night, from what I read. Some of you are like, wait a minute, didn't that happen in 2012? It was supposed to, but if you remember, that was the night that Jerry Lawler had his heart attack, so they canned it. But from what I've been able to gather, looks like they're going to bring it back next week. They're going to try to do it again. Um, I think they should probably maybe put that on hold, or if they are going to do it, they need to make sure that they definitely dedicate a segment where they talk about Verne Gagne. Personally, I think they should just do a whole episode dedicated to the man, a tribute show. I think that would just be really badass. But that's really reaching. I like to try to give WWE the benefit of doubt. They have been known to surprise us from time to time. But you old school wrestling fans out there, I definitely want to know what you think with regards to the passing of Verne Gagne. Um, Definitely sound off. Let me know. Man, the one big story that comes in my mind when I think about his passing, of course, is what had went down with the Hulkster when him and Verne, they were clashing over money. Because if I remember it correctly, Hulkster was seeing all this money that was coming in off of his merchandise and other stuff, and he just felt like he wasn't getting his fair cut. And when he went to Verne to try to talk about it, Verne was like, well, look, I'm the promoter, I'm doing X, Y, Z, this is right. We're doing all this for you. So you're able to, do this and get your, side projects and all this other stuff. And Hulkster just was not feeling it. And it got to the point where he said, you know what, I've had enough. I'm gonna roll out, forget this. And think Iron Sheik, Iron Sheik was there at the time, and legend has it that Iron Sheik was given. Oh, I might have it mixed up. I'm trying to. I think the legend of the story has it was that Verne was so mad about the Hulkster leaving the AWA that he wanted for Iron Sheik to break his legs or something like that, and Sheik just would not do it. He told the Hulkster about it or whatever. Matter of fact, I don't want to give you guys the wrong information because I'm like pulling teeth as I'm thinking about that. Let me just type that up real quick. Iron Sheik. We'll say Iron Sheik. Say Iron Sheik paid to break Hulk Hogan, and I'll just say AWA. And if it pops up accurately, then then that's great for me. But we'll see what happens. I think I'm on to something right there, though. Let me see. Think I'm still reading right here. Forgive me, guys. I just don't want to give you all the wrong information before we wrap this up for tonight. Yeah, yeah, I am reading it right. Yeah, allegedly, Verne Gagne had offered Iron Sheik $100,000 to break Hulk Hogan's leg in their famous 1984 WWF Championship match and take the WWF belt back with him to the AWA in Minnesota. And eventually what happened was Iron Sheik, he would do the right thing by not crossing Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon, and told them exactly what was up and all that. And um, yeah, so I mean, there's so many other good memories, but we'd be here all night talking. But I want to hear what you guys think, for you fans that remember the life and career of Verne Gagne. So post your comments down below, and we'll definitely follow up on what y'all have to say on our next radio podcast edition of the RCWR show, which we'll be doing for you this Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker.com. All the links you need is in this episode description. Make sure you give this a thumbs up. When you do, you're showing your love and appreciation for us YouTube video creators. And also, while you're at it, subscribe if you haven't done it before, you're new to us. We're always breaking news like what we're doing for you all right now, and also doing great interviews, album reviews. We got a little bit of something for everybody, so it's whetting your appetite. So make sure you subscribe and check us out, and that is going to do it. Make sure you give this a thumbs up, as we greatly appreciate it. When you do that, you're showing your love and appreciation for us YouTube video creators. That's going to do it. Good night, good morning, everybody. Take care.